Well, good morning, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. It's going to be one that's going to be remembered across a big section of the United States for very strong winds. We actually have two systems we're watching early this week. We have one that's going to be leaving today from parts of Texas and racing on off to parts of the Great Lakes. It's issued a blizzard warning out of that system in parts of the Red River Valley of the North. There's high pressure coming out of the north here out of Canada that's going to push up against the Rocky Mountains. That's going to produce some snow right here in parts of Montana and Wyoming. And then the system that follows this is moving through the west right now and is going to merge in Colorado and again make a beeline for the Great Lakes. What we have across the East Coast is protective high pressure, and if you step up in the atmosphere, we continue to see this large subtropical ridge that just likes to sit in this area, which is part of the reason why these storm systems are becoming more like a Colorado low type, where they come out like this. Like the second wave here is going to do the same thing. It's going to end up in Colorado and move to the Great Lakes. Rather than seeing these systems develop over the eastern part of the United States, the setup has just not been right for that. No negative North Atlantic oscillation, no big high pressure sitting over Quebec and Ontario. So this is our path right here. This is what we're going to be seeing for the next 10 to 15 days as systems roll through. Today's all hazards weather map is one of the busiest I've seen this winter, and you can see each of these next two systems reflected here. So we have the system today that's prompting all of the wind advisories that's coming out here from the southwest all the way through Michigan. This is the one that's also prompted the blizzard warning now for the Red River Valley of the North. And I'm in Fargo today. I think there's a pretty good chance I don't get home tonight. We'll see what time this snow starts, if I can beat it out. But behind this is all system number one. The second system, which is prompting the high wind advisories for parts of Nevada, getting into California, Arizona, and the winter storm warnings that are out for parts of the Four Corners states. That system is going to be emerging tomorrow in Colorado, and it's going to be racing its way toward the Great Lakes as well. There's going to be a lot of cold air tucked behind this, and you can see that through the I-5 corridor where we've got winter storm warnings. We've got here in parts of the San Joaquin Valley a freeze watch, and this actually extends around the Bay Area and south. This whole pattern is going to keep featuring these deeper troughs. So if we just put this into a big picture statement here, we're going to see over the next 15 to 20 days snowpack building in the west, including the Sierra Nevada, once we get out there past this next 7 days. So this is overall good for the snowpack in the west. This will be important for the midsection of the country, reducing those longer standing drought issues we've been talking about in several videos now. The problem is going to be the east. This setup is not the type that's going to be delivering snow to the east. It's not got the big ridges here and the deep troughs over the southeast that can give you the big nor'easters. So I think that's the way the country's going to be split on this pattern. Now let's come back to that second system pulling out here tomorrow in Colorado, because that's where the Storm Prediction Center continues to kind of expand the area on Wednesday over which the risk for some strong to severe storms could occur. And again, this is a very tricky forecast. We have a broad warm sector opening out in this storm system. There's going to be moisture. It's about the timing of the shear plus the trigger with the upper level shortwave, where the surface front will be. That's going to make it difficult to figure out how much open single-celled convection will get ahead of this versus when the frontal boundary eventually comes through here. So what I want to just make the statement about is in this area tomorrow on Wednesday, just be aware, make sure that you have access to weather information as it comes out, just because of the severe storm likelihood. Now, as we get into Thursday and that warm sector opens up even farther, we're going to see from parts of Mississippi and Alabama clear to Lake Erie, possibly having some strong to severe storms going through there. It'll be a very quick changeover on the backside of this to very cold conditions. So let's go have a look at that snow. I'm going to show you a series of probability maps. These forecast out through Friday morning, so there's 72-hour probability maps. And this first one here is the probability of getting at least 2 inches of snow out of these next two systems. Remember, what you're seeing in Montana here is coming on the nose of high pressure coming down. So this actually isn't associated with the first low and the second low. Let's step it up, though, to 4 inches. And there we go. This is now showing us that that second system coming out of Colorado is going to put down a pretty good stripe of snow right in through this area. High probability, above 70% of getting at least 4 inches here. We can keep going up. This is the chance of getting 8. Sorry if it's a little slow there. I've lost internet connectivity 4 times this morning over the last 3 hours, so hopefully it'll hold out here for the end. But this is, again, a 10 to 30% chance in through here of getting at least 8 inches, but the heaviest in Colorado and getting into this part of Michigan. I want to back that up, too, with the latest National Digital Forecast Database map over the next 72 hours. So here it's mostly going to be a wind issue. This isn't a whole lot of snow, but this second path right in through here, there's a pretty good chance of a 3 to 5 inch snowfall event in this area. Heavier snows into parts of Michigan and back into Colorado. And model agreement here isn't perfect. That's why I'm sticking with the National Digital Forecast Database on what's coming out of Colorado. But what I love about this is it's snow in Colorado, it's snow in Kansas and Nebraska and Iowa and Missouri, and we just need it. That's moisture that's going in to this area ahead of a growing season, and it's exactly what we need to dial up to ensure that we don't have major moisture deficits once we start this growing season. So let's get into the high-res NAM and just see where this system is. This is by 8 o'clock this morning Central Time. You can see the system lifting through Iowa and then moving toward Lake Superior. So that's system number 1. So we do have to be on the lookout for some scattered storm activity this evening all along the front to the south of it. But you're going to see this evening the snow starting to build into parts of the Dakotas. And again, the snow here is on the nose of this high-pressure system. Now my flight leaves at 6 o'clock, so I'm banking on hopefully an early departure. I'd like to get back home. I got other meetings this week in Illinois. So then the winds come in, the snow fills in on the back side of it from Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, and parts of northern Iowa and Nebraska. So there's going to be winds in here of 30 to 50 miles an hour, which is what's prompted that blizzard warning. So that system moves into Ontario and into Quebec. And behind it, this is the Colorado low that emerges. This is 4 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. And that system moves out, and we do need to be on the lookout for ice into parts of Kansas into Missouri. There could be enough overrunning to produce some ice in this area. What we're watching is this is the main frontal boundary, but there's a wide open sector in through here where we could get some open cell convection. That's maybe a term reserved more for the Pacific Ocean, but what I'm talking about here is maybe some supercells that form in the highly sheared environment in this area. So I want to watch out for that carefully. There is actually, it's a bit complicated. I know I called this the main front, but there's actually 2 separate fronts wrapping around the backside of this low. And what's going to happen here is as it moves through the overnight hours getting into early Thursday morning, we do have the risk for some ice accumulation in Illinois, southern Michigan, up to the Chicagoland area and back in toward and just north of St. Louis. And then snow filters in on the backside of this. So that's the second system that puts down that stripe of snow. To pick up where those models leave off, I need to switch over to my multi-model analysis of the GFS versus the Euro. As we play this forward, we've already seen that system and system number 2. That's the one that comes out right here. So good agreement on the models as to where that snow band is going to be and the strong to severe storms to the south of it here on getting through Wednesday into Thursday. As we play this one forward, remember, too much warm air east means we're going to get mostly rainfall out of this in the northeast, and there could be some stronger storms, again, Thursday night into Friday that stretch this whole area as they press toward the mid-Atlantic and into kind of the Carolinas. So that moves out. Now, past this time period, little clipper moves through Ontario, see it? What we're watching for is when the colder air comes in on this big high-pressure cell right here, there it is, by the time we get into next Monday. So the high pressure cell is here in both models. And what it's going to be doing is going to be pushing that upslope flow into Montana, bringing in colder air into the western United States. And as that occurs, this is going to set us up for a much farther to the south penetration of the colder air and a system that's going to open up here. Now, notice the GFS and the European out here this far are not in agreement. The European leaving a deeper trough of low pressure over the west. And what it does is by, this is a single operational run, but getting out there to midweek to late week next week wants to produce a big system with a large area of ice, heavy snows on the northern side, and severe weather to the south. And there is ensemble support for this. We'll talk about it more in Thursday night's in-depth report, but it's going to be the extent of this colder air contrasting against that subtropical ridge that'll help pump that moisture up and around. There's just a lot of evidence that there could be a big system mid to late week next week that we need to keep an eye on. Again, better resolved in the European than it is in the GFS. All right, let's add it all up then. This is the European model's forecast for total snow from these next couple systems. And I just want to make a point here. That's through Monday, so take a good snapshot here, very much in line with what we saw. But as the deeper trough comes into the west, look at the snow building up here early next week in the Cascades and Northern Rockies. And then as that system emerges, it could really put down quite a bit. Now, we cannot trust this single model run. I'm just showing you that there's evidence for a big system mid to late week next week. All right. So let's back that up with some ensemble stuff here. This is the probability of getting at least 6 inches in the next 10 days. All right, so now you see that system showing itself here in the Rockies, in the Cascades, diving and possibly running right over the top of the same area that the snow's coming in the next 72 hours. We then say, well, what about the chances of picking up on the liquid side of this some heavy rainfall? That's really going to be in the Tennessee Valley toward the Appalachian Mountains, northern Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. The ridge down here, though, is going to keep this area, I think, drier and very warm through this pattern. Now, beyond that, take a look. Day 10, deep trough over the west, negative PNA setting up, and that southeastern ridge remains. So there's going to be competition for space across North America with the coldest air here and the warmest air here, and in between, the systems roll through. So that's why the day 8 through 14 outlook, either from the CPC or from the European or the GFS, they all look the same, active. This is going to be an active end of the month of February and likely carry into March as well. All right. From here, let's go take a look at the temperatures. Watch the warmth open up Tuesday into Wednesday here. That's how large that warm sector is. And very quickly behind it, the temperatures drop off. So this is a potent Colorado low coming through. There's Friday's temperatures, already watching the rebound for Saturday into Sunday. But it'll be early next week. See, this is just the beginning of it. Early next week that this very cold air begins to nose down through the Canadian prairie, setting up a high contrast in temperatures across the mid part of the country. And that's what we see here when we look out at this 5-day sliding window of temperature anomalies. Going out there toward, the fourth week of February. There it is. So this is going to be top of mind for us going forward because this actually increases the chances for bigger snows in the west. It increases the chances for precipitation in the central United States, keeps things very mild around the subtropical ridge here, but it is a wetter pattern for New England in the Northeast down to the Carolinas, but not a cold pattern for that area. So this is not one that's going to revive the snow. Yes, the polar vortex is split. Could that show up, or displace, could that show up in March? Possibly, but I'm not yet seeing good model evidence to be supportive of that in the next 15 days. All right. From here, last thing I want to show you is Europe is still very mild through all of this, but Argentina is getting a cooler pattern. So even though drier in Argentina, we have cooler weather coming in. So this is less stress on the crop. Where I think we're going to be seeing some kind of more of a story emerging here is on the flooding rains in parts of Mato Grosso do Sul, into Paraná, Sao Paulo, Minas Gerais, southern Goiás. And even though you see drier conditions here over the next 15 days in Mato Grosso, there's still 3 to 4 inches of rain coming just from the normal monsoonal behavior here. So this is your update on South America briefly. Overall, I think central Brazil is going to be the target area to be talking about with very heavy rains delaying any early harvest progress in that area. So I'll wrap it up here. Appreciate your attention. Keep an eye on all of this. Use the website I provide in the report just to stay on top of it, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Thank you.